Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the corporate. We are very lucky today that we will have a guest who will actually enlighten us on what psychological well-being in the office is. So we are very happy to introduce our resource person for today. Her name is Miss Joanne Trina Moreno-Javier. Miss Joanne is currently teaching at University of Asia in the Pacific. She is licensed and certified developmental psychologist. She has served as resource speaker for a lot of companies. Her focus is actually on leadership, human dynamics, and a lot more. She heads the Developmental Psychology Division of the Psychological Association of the Philippines, a regulating body of psychologists in the country. So without further ado, let me introduce our resource person, Ms. Joanne Trina Moreno-Javier. Good morning, Ms.
Morning.
Jo.
Thank you for that introduction. Sige.
Miss Jo, thank you so much for saying yes. Yung psychological well-being or mental well-being of an employee is a hot news right now.
Right.
It's been in the news for quite some time. A lot of people
Mm,
are talking about it, and even in the companies, they want to make sure that their employees are healthy. But
right.
kindly enlighten us, what exactly is psychological well-being in the workplace?
Um, well, again, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to be part of the corporate this time. And if I were to answer that, it's really akin to relating psychological well-being to work-life balance. I look at it like that. So it's really looking at how you're able to manage both work and life stressors, especially now during the pandemic when everything has really been very different and changes have been happening left and right. Well, a few would embrace them right away, some would be in denial, but those are reactions or responses that are very human. That's why being able to manage them, being able to strike a balance at least with how you manage your life and work is how I would define psychological well-being at the workplace.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that. That's a good enlightenment. It boils down to work-life balance.
Mm.
At this pandemic, Ms. Jo, what are the normal stresses that you can actually find in a company?
Well, right now, really, it has a lot to do with remote working. It's surprising at first glance, right?
Mhm.
Because we would say, well, it's always better to work at home, right? Because you
Yeah.
don't have to commute, especially when you're living in the metro. You don't have to go through the commute of going to and from work, and you're supposed to dictate your time when you're working at home. And well, you can be with your loved ones or the people whom you are with at home. However, this has really caught us off guard. I mean, from especially for those who really report to work every day, and then suddenly they are told, no, you just stay at home, you work there. First 2 weeks, first month, probably yes, it was really a welcome thought. But when the normal stressors of life come enmeshed with the normal stressors of work, then becomes hard to manage all at the same time. So stressors would include putting together domestic chores, no, for example, for parents, no, who have children, and for those who also take care of their parents, no. So these domestic chores come enmeshed um, with your responsibilities at work. And then here comes the unending work hours because especially during the first few months, the usual complaints or the usual stressors that I hear from the clients that I consult with are not knowing when to stop work because people are expecting you to be, you're just at home. What else are you doing? You can answer emails or respond to text messages anytime during the day because, hey, you're just at home. When in
Yes.
fact, no, it has, well, I'm experiencing that as well. No? So when in fact, it's hard also to put a stop, for example, to a meeting. I'm just one of the population. No? Um, that's just um, that's just one of my worries. For some, they have their other worries as well. For those who take care of someone who's sick, For example, no, there is no specific time for everything when you are taking care of someone who's sick. So, in other words, it becomes 24/7, right? Both work and both personal life. And that becomes a stressor when it's very hard to manage. So, that's one. And also the idea of the uncertainty of everything, no? The
Yeah.
uncertainty of when do we go back to quote unquote normal, and we have already defined, no, that there is really this new normal. So how do we live this new normal? Of course, there are conditions, there are protocols and guidelines, but the uncertainty of this, it's very human also to grasp that normalcy, no? And the uncertainty of when to get to that point is a stressor in itself. So yeah, those are some of the few or general stressors that I could mention.
Yeah. I remember, Miss Jo, one time there was like one mother who also shared the same thing, same sentiments. And
Mm-mm.
she even said that she prefers to be in the office rather
Ah, yeah.
than working at home. Working at home could actually help you save, of course, financially because of
Mm-hmm.
the expenses that you need to incur in
Mm-mm.
doing to yung commuting. But
All
other
right.
than that, it's more tiring because you have
Yeah.
to take care of the household chores, your kids, and
Right.
as you have
Mm.
mentioned, it's 24/7.
Right. Right. It has
Mm.
come to that. No, I've had a client who really outrightly said that I hope I would just be allowed to work in the office. So it's
Wow.
really it's ironic if you at that first statement, no, but if you come to think about it, you'd really understand why there is really this clamor for some to go back to the office full time.
Full time. You know, working from home is what we need right now, especially for some businesses, even for some employees, because of what we have. What are
Mm,
the things that we need to look at positively? Because definitely this gives us like a positive, also positive result. There's a positive
right.
outcome for this. What are the things that people need to look also or evaluate? I mean, the positive effect of working from home.
Oh yeah, I'd still say that saving time with commute is still something that's positive that we can all take advantage with, no? Because well, I always refer to this because I live in the metro, no, I know the the time saved from going to and from work. So that's one. Hold on to that thought that when you know when the gates are finally opened and everybody is expected to report to work, we would go back to that commute horror again. Okay, that's one. And my number one answer to that is really taking advantage to be with family or
Yeah.
whoever, however you define family. No? So if it's your direct um, family of origin, fine. My point is you get to be with people whom you don't spend as much time with as compared to being in the office. So that's my always number one response. No, being with family or the people who matter to you. And next would be, I've really seen a lot of people. Well, I see this through social media, no, who've had time to go back to their interests. No?
Wow.
The interests that they may have ignored or they may have forgotten or they may have left. And we see a lot of those who post their baking
Yeah.
goodies, their
Yeah.
plants, or
Yeah.
yung mga those who go back to their arts, and a number of things. There are so many things that we can go back to. The challenge there is to how to balance in giving attention to those. No, so some have also given more attention to their health. Now, aside from the scare of the pandemic, it's made them realize that hey, I better look after myself health wise, and
Yeah.
now is the best time. And so and so these people go into physical activities, albeit indoors. So it has made everyone creative in such a way to give attention to their physical well-being. So I'd like to hold on to those thoughts, no, even for myself. So yeah, silver
Actually,
lining.
You're right, Miss Jo. I've seen a lot of people who discovered so many things about them, things that they probably ignored, and they don't know that they have that. A lot of people now are into business,
Right.
online selling, which I'm actually happy that we're gaining a lot of entrepreneurs in the country.
That's right. Yeah, yun. That's also one thing, no. It has made us also creative in being able to gain financially. No?
Yeah,
Right.
you're right. Thank you, Miss Jo. Going back, when we go to the office, with this pandemic that we have now, and probably the stressors that an employee could experience, how do you
Mm.
think can the management help in ensuring that their employees are psychologically healthy?
Yeah, I've read a lot of articles about that. No? How can management help? How can the organization support
Yeah.
employees?
Mm-mm.
And what's common among them is the it's like the umbrella thought, no, that now is really the time to show how compassionate we are to our employees. And now is the best time to really flaunt to people that yeah, we are a compassionate organization. And how do we show that? Well, it shows even in the simplest form. For example, if you're a manager, the simplest form of asking how are you, and when of course you ask that question, you have to be sincere, you have to be genuine, and you have to be ready to accept whatever response you get. So before you ask that question, you have to also reflect, am I ready for the answer, for whatever answer I will get? And are you ready to be there for that person if that person says, I'm not okay, please help me? All right. So
Yeah.
it really calls on the people's humanity, so the management's humanity. So asking people how they are and probably giving those considerations. I have to always zone in on the parents, for example, who also have to take care of their children who are going through online classes, no. So
Yeah.
it's another area that it's an add-on
Mm-mm.
to, I don't like to call it stressor, but another challenge, no, that they will have to face with. So if you're a manager who knows that this is an employee or a direct report who also has to look after a child who is going through online classes, so not be too strict, for example, in terms of the hours that are spent. Okay, so long as the deliverables are met. Okay, then if the deliverables are not met most of the time, then check in. Okay, but I'd like to backtrack on that. By the way, don't check in, don't ask for how your employees are after the fact. Okay, it means that before something bad happens, ask them already. Okay, so it's also putting in your part of your routine, quote unquote, to ask how people are, so that before it gets worse, before it becomes too much for the employee to handle, you are able to address them. It's another effort, definitely, but it's as I've said, it's part of how to better manage and cope with the situation given your role as a manager, right?
Yeah.
So be more compassionate, give considerations or flexibility, for example, and be more understanding of those who have other chores at home that need attention as well.
Mm. So let me just repeat what you have said. Be compassionate, be flexible, and more
Right.
understanding. Those three items are very
Yes.
important. Mr. You mentioned kanina, regarding what if the employee is not okay. The next is it okay to say, I am not okay?
Of course. No, I'm an advocate of mental
Mm.
well-being. That's what should underlie also. I just don't say it. I have to also espouse it. So yes, it's okay to say I'm not okay. However, it should not be period. No,
Yeah.
I'm not okay. What can I do? Or how can I ask someone to help me? Okay, those two thoughts after recognition that you are not okay is very necessary, because if you just stay in that state that you say I'm not okay, period, then what will you do about it? Okay, so it just like what the uncle of Spider-Man said, no, with great power comes with responsibility. That's a power
Yes.
to say also, no, that you are not okay. But you have to recognize that yes, you acknowledge that you're not okay. Um, Also recognize that you need to do something about it, whether you do it on your own or you ask for help. Okay,
So
so there.
it's important for them to do something on that aspect that they are not okay.
Right, right, yeah.
Okay.
Don't leave it just like that.
Okay. If in case that they are not okay, is there an office or is there a number that they can call and probably ask for help?
Yeah, of course, no, I would always recommend the one that the government has posted ever since. Even before the pandemic, it has
Mm-mm.
always been there. Okay, so that's the NCMH hotline. So if you are not aware, just mention it, it's 0917-899-8727. And you can call that number. That is for free, and it's one of the venue that you can call on to. And there were a number of free psychosocial support, especially during the lockdown. However, right now I am unsure if they are still for free, but what I gave you, the number that I gave you, is for sure is free because it's government owned. And
24/7, Miss Jo.
yes. Okay. And of course, if you are feeling that you would need help, do not hesitate to call or ask for a friend to refer you to someone, or if talking to a friend or a family member is something that makes you feel better, then start with that. All right.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
So siguro it's really more on the idea that you can ask for help, and that's fine.
Oh, that's a very good one. Your tips or probably message to employees and of course not just employees but to management specifically at this pandemic and how we can all have healthy well-being.
Yeah, I always go back. Well, the first question was about psychological well-being. No? I always go back to pay attention to your work-life balance activities. Okay, so it sounds so simple, but when you reflect, even myself, no, when I reflect, I still need to work on a lot of things. So you pay attention to how your body is responding to the stressor. So if you feel that your body is like lagging, you have to also take the cue that you need to rest, for example. Okay, so be very mindful of your body. That's one. And be also mindful of the people around you, how they are responding to you, because they are our barometer. For example, what do I mean? The people around you sense that conflicts have increased. There are a number of misunderstandings or disagreement na before you were not able to notice, then that's also your cue, your barometer, that things around you, your relationships are being affected. Okay, and also you can ask for feedback, whether from the people around you or your boss, depends on how your dynamics are in your work with your boss or your direct report or even your colleagues. So you can ask for feedback. Okay, so those three things are very important for us to remember, that as employees we are humans first and foremost, so we have to take care first of our well-being, our body, and we have to be holistic. We have to be integrated in paying attention to our well-being. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Jo. We really have to take care of ourselves. Thank you so much for your time. Um, Again, thank you. And we will see you again on the next episode of The Corporate. This is Chasel, and good morning.